Boom. All right. Boom. Shout out to my Dolphin fans. Great victory the other day. Had to represent today out here in the snow in Raleigh, North Carolina. I always wanted to film a video for my Miami people to get to see and kind of capture the snow, especially for my parents. My parents are from Haiti, so they never ever 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 see snow. Only other time they seen snow is when they came up here to visit me a while back ago. They got to enjoy the snow. That was a long time ago. But yeah, this is the scenery. And once again, shout out to all my Dolphins fans. Had to represent. We in the gym, baby, but I got to represent my Dolphins. That was an excellent and great victory. And that's definitely not the topic of my video, but I had to shout my boys out. Never seen anything like it, especially like with the hook and lateral, and with Drake finishing the play the way he did. That was a big time play. And you guys know I'm into sports, and I always talk about the student athletes and the coaching part of it. And that's basically why I'm here. This is why we're in EJ's gym today, to talk about zero. Talk about zero, your starting point. And I had a series going, or I have a series going about creating your legacy as a coach. And I want to briefly talk about me and my legacy as a person, building up to being a coach. And when I decided to take this profession serious and try to see how far I can go as far as with my teachings and the level. My ultimate goal is to, be a college coach. But I wanted to work the progression. I wanted to start from zero. Well, in this area, I wanted to start off at a lower level. And middle school ball, we don't have middle school ball back home in Miami, Florida, but here in North Carolina, we have middle school. And I had an opportunity to coach with one of my teammates, one of my good friends. I don't even call him a friend. That's my brother, Michael Rice. And I had an opportunity to coach with Jonay too. Shout out Jonay. We started this journey together. That was my zero as a coach, starting off from this level. And I tell you this, we lost every single game. We lost every single game. Our first year, coaching together, trying to figure it out. As players, we felt like we knew the game. Jonay was an exceptional player. Mike was a good player. I was a pretty decent player myself. And, we thought we knew the game, but when you get into coaching and, teaching kids and you're not the one doing it, it can be quite challenging, and that's where those teacher tools, you need to pull out those teacher tools and those relationship tools and everything that you know about people to basically persuade them into doing something. But in order to convince somebody to do anything, like I said, you must first get to know the person. And that is true with kids too. And like I said, this is my zero. But if I had to dig back even further, I started coaching or the process of coaching or learning when I was in college. And I'm always thankful for the guys that paved the way before me. And I always mention Frank Ponce, who actually, I always mention him because he planted that seed in my head that I can play. He planted that seed in my head. He taught me the game where I understood the game from a different perspective. I don't know where my perspective was before I met him, but he put me in a perspective to kind of, in a sense, be ready moving forward. I mean, for college and all the different coaches that I had to be coached under in high school. In high school, I had, I want to say we had Frank, I forgot that one coach name. We had Coach Mitch, and we had Coach Heidelberg. So for my 3 years in high school, I played under 3 different offensive coordinators. And if it wasn't for the knowledge that he gave me, and Coach Donnell, I love him. That was my offensive line coach in college. In high school. I also learned from Coach Fields, who was a tight end coach there as well. I learned a lot from him as well, just as far as not scheme but intensity. I learned how to be intense and how to train harder, when he got there. And like I said before, I had to learn 4 different offenses in 3 years, and that had a lot to play with my knowledge on the game and how I learned the game and how I can pick up the game pretty fast. And when I moved on to college, I had one offensive coordinator, but that offense was so easy to pick up after playing under 4 different guys. And I learned a lot from every single one of those guys, but Coach Ponce was the guy that I learned the most from. I learned a lot from Coach Mitch. He was a funny guy. And Coach Heidelberg was the icing on the cake as far as with confidence and extreme confidence. And I feel like all that it's like putting the ingredients into a pot. And all that has to play with my legacy and everything that I know about football because of these guys that were in front of me who taught me, and guys that I watched and I modeled after who are winners. That's the thing, a lot of those guys were winners, especially Coach Heidelberg. We won a lot with Coach Mitch, and Coach Ponce, he's just a winner. And to be under those guys, I have that same winning mentality. So when it comes to coaching, like I said before, we all want to win, but it's a process in how you go about doing it, right? And like I said, this is my zero. And when I was in college, I would go to shout out to Coach Henry. I would go with Coach Henry. We would go over the summer. We would work camps like offensive and defensive camps. So I got to see how they organize camps and how coaches run camps, and that had a lot to do. That was just putting more ingredients into that pot. And as a player, I always prided myself as a lineman to be able to know what every guy on the line was doing. So just in case my man, big shout out to my man, Big Ball, he didn't know what was going on, I had to make sure I would tell him, I would point at the guy so we would all be on the same page, And of course, big shout out to Coach Martin, who's to this day, he's still my mentor. I learned so much from him, right? So, like I said, all that goes into the pot, but you have to start from ground zero, and you have to be okay with ground zero. And me, Mike, and Jonay, me and Mike, we're still coaching. Jonay, I think he's in the military right now. We were okay with starting with zero. Like I said before, we lost every single game. And then the next year wasn't that much better. We only won 1 game. But in the process, we learned how to build relationships with kids. In the process, we found ourselves as men, especially Mike, because we will always push Mike, hey, man, you sound good, man. You should be a motivational speaker. And now we have discovered greatness. You know what I mean? And he is awesome at what he does. But this starting at zero, you learn your skills. You learn, first off, you learn how much you can endure and take as a coach. Because in my short career coaching, I coached on 3 losing teams. 3 losing teams. The year before last, we went 2-9 at the high school, and here we lost every single game our first year and only won 1 game that following year. And every time I would always reflect and look at myself. I would never point the finger at the kids and think about, okay, what can I do better as a coach? How can I approach this game better? And I will tell you, everything changed, when me and Peterson got together. And it has, I think it had a lot to do with our chemistry and our energy, and our philosophies just matched. When it came to, it was just the right time. It was just like, like I said, we're cooking. You putting the ingredients in, and then we're in. You put the bread or the cake in the oven, and then now you just had to wait. And that was just the right time. It was timing. With me getting with him, because me and Mike, we had a great relationship as friends. And me and Peterson shared the same thing, but it was the right time, the right place, and the right location with the right kids. you know. And I always say, in order to win a championship, and people think I'm crazy, on whatever level, especially the highest level, if you want to go professional, is 33% across the board. It's organization, whatever organization or school or program, right? It's coaching, that's 33%. Coaching, you know, can you scheme and put your players in the right position to win? And the last thing, can your players perform? 33% all across the board. You know, and that's my philosophy on building a championship team. So you have to, in a sense, get the organization right, get the program right, figure out how you want to run your program, right? And then get the right coaches that share similar philosophies to what you share, right? And then the development of players, because in certain cases you can't pick and choose what players that you get, but if you can develop guys, then you have an ongoing program. But if you don't have that skill of developing guys and you're in an area that you don't get the best of the best, you better learn. Excuse me. You better learn. And remember, this is all freestyle, so you can catch me coughing. If I have to dig in my nose, I might dig in my nose. All right. So you better learn, you know. So everything I felt like that I was not equipped with, I would go study. I would go study, whether it was go watching videos on film. I would read books if I had to about different blocking schemes. I would call up Coach Martin and be like, hey, this is my problem. You know, I would watch football from every level. I mean, all the way from little league to middle school to high school to college to professional. Anything, anything that I could do to get better at my craft, I did it. Any question I had to ask, I did it. Camps, oh my God, I worked numerous camps. And like I said, since I want to say at the age of 19, I've probably worked, I don't know, so many camps. I don't even have a number in my head. But that drill and repetition is what it takes to get you from zero to whatever number you're trying to reach, whatever ultimate goal. Because for me, I always feel like my goal is college, but this is never ending. You know, the relationships that you build with these kids are never ending. You know, and learning relationships and getting to know people, other coaches and players, it's a never ending process, right? So you have to always continuously learn and continuously check yourself as a coach. Okay, am I doing this right? Am I getting the best out of my players? If not, what should or what can I do to get the best out of my guys, right? And if I guarantee you, if you're willing to go on that search, you'll end up with a great legacy as a coach. Jim,